welcome you to Reform Gangsters live today on YouTube. And if you like my content, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. Also, don't forget to check out my Patreon. I got a lot of good content on there, a lot of content coming your way. So check it out. So I'll just make a little brief comment before I start taking questions. As everybody knows, and everybody's talking about it, the big FBI raid, the NBA, the mob, fixing games, cheating everybody out at the poker tables. I mean, it doesn't surprise me. I predicted it so long ago. As soon as sports betting started getting legalized in all these states and all these apps, I knew corruption was going to come, and sooner or later, it's just human nature. And the mob and sports, they've been together for centuries. I mean, they fixed the World Series. I mean, so organized crime and fixing games have been around forever, and people want to know why someone that makes millions and millions of dollars a year is betting on sports, because it's an addiction. That's why. I work in the field. It's an addiction. There's nothing to do with money. It's the rush. It's the action. It's the the adrenaline rush. The suspense, the danger, all that, all that stuff is addiction. That's why they get involved in that. The guy was a Hall of Famer, the coach. He was pulling players. And the other kid was a star athlete. He hurt his foot. But that's what goes on. They just got caught. And as far as the mob goes with the poker tables, I mean, we always were up on the technology of the time. It was only a matter of time before that happened. I mean, the mob today, gambling is one of the only ways they can make money today. I mean, it's a whole new world out there. Gambling's never going to go away. People are always going to look to play cards and shoot dice. But I don't understand why people with a lot of money will go to an illegal poker game in Manhattan and lose hundreds of thousands of dollars when they could go to Atlantic City and get treated like a king when they play poker on a level like that, high roller poker. They get suites and this and free meals and get catered to. I guess it's just convenient, and the mob figured out how to do it. We used to cheat, but not on that kind of a level. Like I always ran after-hour joints, and most of them had gambling, and a lot of them just had slot machines. And the slot machine isn't really cheating, because the slot machine is programmed to pay out a certain amount of money and to take in a certain amount of money. Like, slot machines have brains. Like, they know if they pay out $10,000, they got to take $10,000 in, and the machine is programmed to pay off a certain amount of money, because you want people to win. You want people to be excited to keep playing the machines. So you want the bells to go off and the whistles to whistle. So you pay out some money, but you never lose money. And we also have blackjack games. We didn't have the technology they have today, but what we had was dealers that knew how to palm cards and knew how to play with the shoe. So, but we didn't cheat from beginning to end. We would cheat once. Like, how I did it was, I would always stay on top of how the house was doing, and if it was a couple of hours into the night, and the house wasn't doing too good, I would give the dealer a single, and he would start playing with the cards to recoup some of the money that the house lost. I wouldn't bang out the clients, because I want them to keep coming back. So, they just did it today on a different scale. And as far as the people that got arrested, two kids from Howard Beach. I mean, I knew Angelo Jr.'s father, really good quack. I didn't know really him, because he was a kid when I was around. But I hear, he's a tough kid, and this ain't the first time he got in trouble. And the other kid, Nick, that got arrested with him, he hung out with my son and my cousin Gene when they were kids. So, he did a lot of time too. Now they're going to go to jail. And it's funny, because I always talk about the children of wise guys, and this is another perfect example. Angelo Jr., who's Quack's son, is in every article, because he's Quack's son. You know what I mean? And So he's going to suffer that consequence now for being Angelo's son. And the other kid, Lee Farmer, I didn't know him, but I knew other guys in his family. I did time with one of them. My own man, my father did time with one of them. The whole family is corrupt. So it's going to continue. There's going to be more coming. I think there's going to be more athletes involved, more stuff coming down the road. Maybe even different, maybe football. Who knows? You know, it's just greed and action and addiction. So we'll see what happens. Okay. All right. Let's take some questions. Okay, here we go. Um, Certified wrestling bro. Hope your brother is my brother. My brother passed away, unfortunately. So sorry about that. Al, hello from Philly. Hey, what's up, Al? How you doing? Luciano, hey, Mr. Ruggiano. Hey, how you doing? Charles, if Neil became boss, what would you think would have happened? A lot of shit would have happened. A lot of shit that happened that wouldn't have happened. He should have been the boss. I think if he became the boss, my life would be different because my old man's life would have been different. That's for sure. Okay, here we go. CV. CV, yeah. So Peter and somebody, I don't know what that word is. Kid, I forgot his name. No, it wasn't Peter's kid. I don't know what you're talking about. Peter's kid. That was Angelo Quack's kid that got arrested. So here's Reg Have. I think I can really, it's hard to pronounce the name. Tell us about how your father and Nikki split up and how they made up. You know, that's a long story how they split up. It was unfortunate. It was over Nikki's brother Jojo. I'll go into detail at another time because, like I said, it's probably a whole show. But how they made up was my father was in Petersburg, Virginia, doing in a federal prison doing time, and Lenny Di Maria rolled in there, and they started walking the yard, and they made up. First, they made up, and then we went on a visit. Nikki, myself, Tony Lee, brother. I think it was us four, maybe. Yeah, just the four of us. I think brother, Nikki, Tony Lee, and myself. And we went on to visit, and Nikki and my father just hugged, and it was like nothing ever happened. It was like nothing ever happened. Here's one. I got a donation from DVE. Thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. I was watching an interview with Dominic from a while back. What was his position? He appears rough around the edges, but seems smart. Dominic Montagalo. I don't know. I don't. I can't. I'm drawing a blank. I don't even know who it is. I mean, Dominic. I know Dominic. The other Dominic was a captain. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank. Let me think about that. So what else we got? Drake. Was Quack Quack truly a character? Yeah, Quack Quack was a good guy, tough guy. Andrea, love you, Anthony. You're a great storyteller. Just popped in from California. Hello, Andrea. Love you too. Thank you. I think I have another donation. Hold on, let me just see where that is. JB, thanks for the donation. I appreciate it. Through the zips that were made in Italy have to get made again when they join the family. Yeah, they're not recognized in the United States. Years ago, Carlo Gambino did that. They come here, they get straightened out in Italy. They're not recognized as friends in the United States. They couldn't sit down on their own. Whether they had to get straightened out again here, I don't know, but I know they weren't recognized here. Uncle Charlie, it looks like you lost a lot of weight. You look great. That's good. Thank you. I did lose weight. I appreciate that. Hold on. I think I have another donation. Thank you, Angel. Appreciate that. Thank you for the donation. No question, just a heart. Thanks. Back at you. Let's see what we got. What else we got? Scott, did you see the Netflix show that just came out about the Philly mob? Yeah, I did. I did. It was like a carbon copy of Get Gotti. It was the same production crew, Raw, that did Get Gotti, did that. He did a good job. It didn't stay at number one as long as Get Gotti. I know a lot of the characters that they talked about, in the Philly crew, Joey, Lance, Georgie Borghese, I knew a lot of them. Yeah, I think they did a good job. I think it was good. Kim, Nino's nephew Dominic. Nino Gadji's nephew? I didn't know him. I never met him. I guess that's what you're talking about, right? Yeah, Dominic was in the Gemini crew. Yeah, he was Nino Gadji's nephew. Nino Gadji was Roy DeMeo's captain. So yeah, they were all together. I think he even wrote a book. Francesco, hello. Hello, JB. Hello, how are you? Francesco. Who are you going for in the World Series, the Dodgers or the Blue Jays? Well, I think I'm a little leaning towards Toronto because of Don Mattingly. I like to see him get a ring, but they're in Canada, you know what I mean? So I'm really on the fence with it. I'm not thrilled with it, with either team, but I guess I would like to see Toronto win because of Don Mattingly for no other reason. It'd be ironic if that kid, gets a ring before our guy, but before Judge, we'll see what happens. Uncle Charles, how did you lose the weight? Any tips? Thank you. I lost the weight through diet and exercise and some other things. A medication. I took a medication, a legal prescribed medication. Darren, thanks for the donation. I appreciate it. Bodega, hello, Anthony. Did you ever meet Sonny Red? No, I never did. Never met Sonny Red, but I know his son very well. I knew his son very well. David Little, who was the dumbest wise guy you ever met? Well, one of the dumbest wise guys I ever met were two, Pete Gotti and Skinny Dom. They were probably the two dumbest wise guys I ever met. Thanks for the donation, Reg. If you had not cooperated, do you think you would have been a captain by now? That's a good question. I don't know. I was thinking about that the other day. All the people that they're making captains, I think if I didn't cooperate and I stood out there, I definitely was going to get straightened out. I was on the verge of getting straightened out when I left New York. If I wouldn't be in prison, if I wasn't in prison, I think I would be in a really good position. So we'll see. Yeah, definitely think I would have been in a definitely good position. Scott, I'm from Toronto. Hi from Canada. Hey, what's going on, Scott? I guess you're rooting for the Blue Jays, right? Good luck. JB, thanks for the donation. I appreciate that. Did you ever meet Tommy Agro? Was he as rough as they say? Of course I met him. He was my father's co-defendant. I met him. I knew him great. I knew him, we hung out together in Florida, in New York. I knew his wife. I knew his son. he was with us every day in Florida. I used to hang out with him in New York. He was crazy. Yelling, screaming, tough killer. Um, yeah, but at the end he cooperated. He profited to get out of prison. He didn't want to die in prison of lung cancer. So at the end he profited, but he was crazy. But I knew him really good. Okay, let's see what else we got. They're coming in hot and heavy here. That is the Dutchman. I've heard rumors that John Gotti and Jimmy Burke didn't get along. Yeah, they got along. They got along. I mean, they got along as well as possible, as good as possible. I mean, not, after Foxy got killed by Tommy, there was a lot of friction there. Angela Designs, a laughing emoji. I don't know, maybe I'm funny. JD, Peter Gotti looked like a complete moron. He's dead. I don't want to talk about him. He wasn't my cup of tea. It was what it was. Kevin, greetings from Vegas. Hey, Kev, how's everything going in Vegas? I miss Vegas, hoping to get back there soon. Luciano, hey, Mr. Luciano, thanks for the Vegas Mob Museum tour. Definitely on the bucket list. Yeah, go there. It's a really good place. CV, was Tommy DeSimone's brother Robert crazy like Tommy? Wasn't he quite a bit old? Bobby was not crazy like Tommy. Bobby was a very calm guy, very good guy. He was Fat Andy, my father's co-defendant on the case. He was actually with Tommy Agro, Tommy A. He was around Tommy A. That's how we got hooked up with him. I used to go by his house. He lived on a little canal in Florida and down in Miami. Good guy. Totally different type of guy than his brother Tommy. Mark S. Hey, Anthony. Hey, Mark, how you doing? Peter, Anthony, how were you and your dad the same and different? My father was a gangster. Totally different. We were. Peter. Long drives at night. What you know about the mob in Canada? It's not glorified here like the U.S. media. The mob in Canada made a lot of money. Their main source of income was heroin. They were hooked up with the Bonanno family, big time. That's why Carmine Gigante was killed over Canada. They hooked up with the Hells Angels. I was away with the Hells Angels in school. Killed that. They did business with. They were distributed heroin for the mob, for the Italian mob. They were partners. Very dangerous. Killed a lot of people. Diamond Ken. I like Pete Gotti. I liked him too. I just didn't, think he was all that. Marquez, I was just on Gun Hill Road looking for the crack game. Wow, that was so long ago. Oh my God. I was about 19 when I worked in that crap game on Gun Hill Road. Yeah, that was crazy. That was the first crap game I ever worked in. Made a lot of money in that crap game. It was packed every day, packed. People were coming in there with bags of money. It was crazy. Raccoon Man. Hey man, did you run into anyone who had dealings with Carlos Mancello? No, I never. They were in New Orleans. My father did business with a couple of guys from New Orleans back in the day over construction. They used to hang out at the Diplomat Hotel in Miami. But I didn't know them. He did. Ken X, do you know Ruggiero Jr.? No, I don't know the kid. I knew his father. Like I said, I met the kid a while, but I didn't know him. I believe I went to his sister's wedding. She married one of the Garinos many, many years ago, but I didn't know him. I knew his Uncle Sally and I knew his father, but I didn't know him. I have a donation, but I have to skip ahead when I get these donations. I love them, but I got to skip ahead to get to it. Hold on. Darren, thanks for the donation. I appreciate it. Do you know about Billy Bat's murder and who did it at the time? Yeah, we all know Tommy did it. It wasn't sanctioned. Of course, he was a made guy. You can't be doing stuff like that. So I don't remember him meeting him or ever. He was in jail and then he got out and he got killed. But yeah, we know who did that. That was Tommy DeSimone all the way. Lawrence, Peter Gotti's wife, Kitty, was very nice. Yeah, she was very nice, very, very nice. She was actually good friends with my mother-in-law, Lucy, my first wife, Alice's mother. They were very, very good friends, very good friends. Angel Designs. I was laughing at your comment about Skinny Don and Pete being the dumbest wise guys. All right. I'm glad I gave you a laugh. Ogata. Did Joe Messina was a bad guy before he set up Vinny? Joe Messina was a good guy to me. I mean, he was always good to me. I know him for years. He always treated me good. He always he used to pay my check when I ran into him in the diner. He used to hang out in the diner all the time across the Boulevard Whole Court. Always sent regards to my father. Then he cooperated. Angel. Oh no, I did her. Francesco. Who do I have in the World Series? I'm leaning towards the Blue Jays. Jeff. Was Greg DePalma an important member, or was he just an average guy? No, he was loaded. He got a lot of respect. He was very, very close to everybody, to Neil, to Paul, to John, his son. I did time with his son, Greg Jr. Unfortunately, he profited and he tried to kill himself, and he turned himself into a vegetable and passed away. But he was a big money guy, and he was very, very good friends with Frank Sinatra. Very, very big money guy. Bogata, did you meet Joe Gallo? Well, I met Joe Gallo, the consigliere, and I met Joe Gallo, his son. I never met Crazy Joe, no. Uncle Charlie, back in the day, did you guys used to fix the World Series of football games? Thank you. The World Series was fixed in the early 1900s, not by me, but I never was involved in any game fixing or anything, but I know people that got arrested for doing it. Jimmy Burke got arrested for it. I even think Michael Francis got arrested for it. So it was always going on. I don't know how to pronounce this name. EMPAZ. What would you say if you saw John Gotti in the flesh right now? Well, first of all, if John Gotti was alive at the time I cooperated, I may have not cooperated because I think I wouldn't have been left out to dry like I was with John alive. He would have looked out for me a little better than anybody else was. And if I saw him now, if he miraculously materialized in front of me, I would tell him, I'm sorry. That's what I would tell him. I have another donation. Hold on, I got to get to it because Raven, thanks for the donation. Just saying thanks for being here. I appreciate that very much. Thank you very much. Very nice of you. Who's this? Thanks for the donation, EMPHC. How you pronounce that, I don't know, but I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. Darren, I thanked you already for your donation. Thank you. Was Anthony Bruno a gangster? He is now under Boston. But out, yeah, he was a tough guy, killer. Did a lot of time with my old man. He was in on the Gigante hit. He was on the commission case. Legitimate tough guy. Yes, he is. Dutchman. Anthony, you have the best channel on the topic of the Mafia, hands down. Thank you very much, Dutchman. I really appreciate that. Carlos, did you know Sonny Grillo? I met him a couple of times, but I didn't know him well. Lisbo, hey, Anthony, who is the Mark Caputo guy? He is one of the guys who would have been a gopher, not a triggerman. I know Mark from when we, years and years ago when he was a kid. He was always at the Bergen. He was a good kid. He was a hustler. Spend a lot of time with him at the racetrack. Used to come by Cafe Liberty. Tony Lee really liked him. My old man liked him. I just hope he doesn't say anything derogatory about me today. But I always liked him. I always liked Mark. I'm not going to call him names or anything like that, gopher or whatever. He He was someone that, everybody liked and hung out and made money doing what he did. And, then he disappeared. Then he disappeared. Um, and I'll let him talk about that. Was Sammy Gravano feared back in the day? Yeah, Sammy was feared. Sammy was feared. Sammy was a Brooklyn guy. I think I got more donations. Hold on. JB, thanks for the donation. Tony Brooklyn, thanks for the donation. Tony, did you know my uncle DeMeo and Tato? No, I never met Tato, but I met Roy. I met Roy a couple of times. I may have met Tato, but I definitely met Roy DeMeo without a doubt at the Raven Night and at Gemini Club once or twice. From Shay, who held the umbrella for Gotti best? The Chico or Sammy? The Chico, I never saw him in a picture holding an umbrella. I only saw Iggy and Skinny Dom and Sammy holding an umbrella. I never saw Frankie holding an umbrella. I never saw a picture of that. JB, thanks for the donation. If someone owed you money in the life, how would you collect? Is there escalation steps? I would collect it any way I could. I mean, I never really had issues. I mean, I had issues a couple of times with sports money. Guys didn't pay, like a runner didn't pay us once, and we, tied him up in a chair. And his uncle was a captain in Jersey, and he straightened out his debt. But I would collect the money any way I could. No one laughed the first time, chef. I don't know what that means, but okay. IH8U. If Peter Sicaro never flipped, do you think you'd still be on the street? Peter Sicaro was the one that started everything going with me getting indicted for my brother-in-law. I think if he would have not cooperated, I think things might have turned out different for me. I don't know, but he's the one that started the ball rolling. Another donation from EMPHZ. Thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. Who had the best sense of humor for the high-ranking Mafia member? John had a great sense of humor. Tony Lee had a good sense of humor. Lenny, I guess Lenny DiMaria has the best sense of humor out of everybody. He always had a smile on his face. Uncle Charlie, who was on the Paul Castellano ahead of Sammy the Boss, said there was 10 guys. Thank you. That's documented who was on there. Hit Frankie, Loke, Johnny, so many guys were on the hit. Give us a funny story with Bruno D'Indicato. I didn't hang out with Bruno. But he was a funny bastard. He used to come on the visits. His wife Kathy used to go visit him in Allenwood, and I would go visit my old man. My old man, he was on the same tier as my old man, and he ate with my old man every day. Like he was with my old man every day. They loved each other. He was just a naturally funny guy. Uncle Charlie, was Sammy the Bull really in the car with John Gotti? Yes, he was. Yes, he wasn't really in the car with John. I spoke to Sammy about it many times. I believe that he was. I know other guys don't, I do. Carlos, did John Gotti have a girlfriend named Sandy Grillo? Thank you. I mean, I don't know. I don't really want to talk about that much, what I mean? Because John's daughters, and his wife, Vicky, and his daughters, Angel and Victoria, his grandkids, I don't really want to talk about his girlfriends, but but the girl that he was alleged to be with, his last name was Grillo. It was Ernest Grillo's ex-wife. But I don't really want to get into that because that's personal stuff, and I don't want to get his daughter Angel mad at me again. So we'll talk about that privately. Tony Brooklyn, GU meeting Uncle Tato. I don't know what that means. I never met Tato. I don't believe I met him in person. My old man was good friends with him. Uncle Charlie, you have to go on the show with Gene Barillo and Hootie. Gene's my cousin. I'll go on a show with him anytime. Lisbo, thanks for the comment. Just want to know if you endorsed Mark's channel. No disrespect with the gopher comment. I'm a Mafia fan from Scotland, so maybe lingo mixed up. I've watched it a couple of times. He's doing a show now. He recreated the Bergen Hunt Fish Club. He's got a lot of stories to tell. He was around for a lot of years, and he hung out there morning, noon, and night. He knows everybody. So he has a lot of stories. He's a funny guy. Kevin, did a lot of time. Kevin was good friends, I believe, with my brother. I know both of them. If you like story, you want to hear stories about the Bergen, he's one of the guys you should hear them from because he has a lot of them. I know he talks a little derogatory about guys that cooperated, but that's up to him. How he refers to us. I would say because he knows me, he knows Johnny A. He knows Mikey Scars. He knows. I don't think he knows Sammy. Maybe he might have met Sammy, but he definitely knows me, and he definitely knows Johnny A. and he knows Mikey Scars. From Victoria, Anthony, who was the cheapest gangster you ever met? I never really met a cheap gangster. Everybody I know pretty much were good spenders, were pretty good spenders. So I can't really put my finger on anybody that was cheap that I ran into. John O'Brien, Bobby Fleece, president of the Butchers Union, Frank Chicken Man, and Big Paul. Yeah, Paul had the chickens, Purdue and all of them guys locked up. Cincinnati boy, what was the mob doing in Florence, Kentucky? Heard stuff about them messing around with some small type casinos back in the 60s. Listen, the mob had their hands in everything all over the country. At one time, what they were doing in Kentucky, I can't tell you, but it wouldn't surprise me. Anthony, this is from Anthony. Did you ever resent your father for inviting you into the street life? How did that affect your attitude towards your son following you and your father into the light? I never had any resentments back then, but I feel like things could have been different. And as far as my son, my son used to run around with the kid Nick that got arrested on that case right now at the NBA, and my cousin Gene and all of them, and they all started getting arrested when they were young. And I said for my son, I was in prison, and I made sure my son stayed away from them because I didn't want my son running around getting arrested because I didn't want him to go down that same path I did, and I used to tell him on the visit that I'm not going to make the same mistakes my father made, and thank God today my son's a hardworking kid. He goes to work every day. He's got a legitimate job and he works very hard. Do you endorse Curtis Lewa for New York mayor? My friend Mike Gennady shot Curtis Lewa, in the cab and did a lot of time for it, did 18 years. Out of the three of them, I think I would like to see him win. I feel bad for my city. I still feel bad for my home. Let's see what else we got. This is another one from Anthony. Do you ever resent? No, I read that one. Lisboa, Lisboa, 67. Can you tell us about how union jobs work? Are they as they seem in the movies? You get a chip for doing no work. Yeah, it's no-show jobs. I was on a no-show job at the Monaco Hotel. Every union, they give out a certain amount of no-show jobs, or you go there, you get on the job, and you go there, you have a cup of coffee, you check in, you clock in, and you leave, and then someone clocks you out. It's a whole big racket. Let's see this one. Thanks, Dave, on Patreon. I appreciate it. I appreciate your support. Thank you very much. Thank you for taking my question, Mr. Ruggiano. Do you think this current scandal will spread out to other sports like the NBA and Major League Baseball, et cetera, share some professional athletes? in your opinion, do you think the busters NBA, they only, I think it's going to spread out. I think it's going to be more coming. I don't know about baseball, maybe football, refs, maybe, refs in baseball. I mean, refs in hockey, basketball and football. I don't think it's going to go and touch hockey or baseball, but maybe football and more NBA. But I really believe there's more coming. Listen, it's been around forever. They've been doing it forever. Maybe not on the scale they're doing it today. Today the victims today were the sports books, Draft King, Fandango, MGM, Hard Rock Bet. All them sports books were the victims. They're the ones that got beat for all that money, not the street bookmakers. The bookmakers, the legitimate bookmakers got hammered. So as long as they're around and people have easy access to do that, there's going to be corruption, without a doubt. Anthony Palmer, was the Mafia allowed to have black girlfriends? Why not? Why not? When it came to girls, a lot of people were not racist. Let me tell you that. The Dutchman, Anthony, tell us a little about your father. What kind of cars did he drive? What was his drink of choice? And what kind of cigarettes did he smoke? He smoked Benson and Hedges cigarettes. He drank vodka on the rocks. And when I was a kid, his favorite car was Cadillacs. And then when I got a little older, he switched to Buicks. He always had Buicks or Cadillacs, always, my whole life. That was what I learned how to drive on a '69 black Coupe de Ville. Brand new, he had it. That's when I learned how to drive at 68, like that. So yeah, he always liked Cadillacs, and he liked Buicks, and he drank vodka on the rocks. And he smoked Benson and Hedges. Ryan, Anthony is the guy who you and Robert Borelli refer to as Little Joe, the same as Joe in the balloon. No, it's a different Joe. It's the kid that we grew up with, Joe Dodona. His father was my godfather. His uncle was Happy Mayoni in Murders Incorporated. He was my first wife, Alice's cousin. Totally different person. Alex, have you ever had any negative spiritual experiences? Bobby Luigi from Boston had demons after him when he was active killing and robbing people. No, I never did. Never did. This is from EMP8Z. My father used to say, wherever there's money, there's corruption, without a doubt. My father used to tell me that money makes people do strange things, and that goes for anybody, family members, friends, strangers, anybody. I think that's it. That's it for the questions. Anything new coming in? Let's go back. Okay, here's some new ones. Was there anybody your father did not want to invite to your wedding? I don't know, man. There was 1,000 people at my wedding. My old man was going around with shopping bags with invitations in them. How we invited everybody? We went to social clubs and we gave invitations to almost every captain in the 5 families, and we let them bring who they wanted to bring. We literally gave almost every captain in New York a table at my wedding, and they came with who they wanted to come with. And with as many guys or associates, whatever. But there was 1,000 people at my wedding. Easy. I mean, I know for sure because they had guys at the front door with clickers. So yeah, that's how we did it. And I made at my wedding, when we opened up the envelopes, the next day I had a little over $50,000 in cash. In 1977, $50,000 was a lot of money. This is from Cincinnati boy. What do you think about them trying to pave over Italian heritage in Massachusetts in Newtown and Italian? Myself thought it was pretty ridiculous. I don't know much about it. I'm sorry. I really don't have an opinion on that. But if they're trying to do that, I think that's not so good. I think that's wrong. Earthside, what about the mob from Rochester, New York? I know there's a mob up there. I was in Attica with a couple of them. A lot of a big Italian community up there. Definitely have the Mafia in Rochester, New York. I was away with one of them. I forget. He was in Attica with me, but I forget his name for the life of me. He was a good guy. I can't think of his name, but he was a knockaround guy from Rochester. This is from Tony. Hey, Anthony, question. Been sober for 21 years, but been smoking weed to my sinuses. I'm still, no. Listen, I don't want to disrespect you, but to me, you're not sober, you're not clean, you're smoking weed, it's a minor mood altering chemical. I'm really old school when it comes to that, and I don't mean to put you down or disrespect you. 21 years is a long time, but I'm old school. And if people are smoking weed or taking Suboxone or anything like that, I don't believe that they're clean and sober. That's just my opinion. I know today things are changing. People are getting different things now, especially with marijuana being legal. But I don't believe I'm really old school when it comes to that. Thanks for the donation, Stephen. Simone, I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Okay, I got one or two more last questions. Did you know Angelo Ruggiano Jr. again? I really didn't know him. I met him. I knew his family. I knew his Uncle Sally. I knew his father real good. And another one is pizza, Sicilian or regular slice. It all depends on what pizzeria. If I'm home and I'm in the neighborhood, Ozone Pizza on Liberty Avenue has the best Sicilian pizza you're ever going to eat. So if you're ever in the borough of Queens and you're around Ozone Park, go to Ozone Pizza. They have the best Sicilian pizza you're going to eat. As far as regular pizzas go, a lot of places have good pizza. So, but Sicilian, Ozone Pizza for sure. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I hope I answered everybody's questions. I love doing lives. I love answering questions. I love, going back and forth with the audience. And if you like my content, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. Also, please don't forget to check out my Patreon. I really appreciate it. And I'm hoping to go live at least once or twice a week moving forward. So I hope everybody tunes in again and everybody stay safe and have a good